Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. Above us, only sky. So you imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no country. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for. No religion too. So you imagine all the people living for today. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. Maybe someday you will join us, and the whole wide world will live as one. Yeah, the whole wide world will live as one. Imagine there's no possessions. I wonder if you can. No greed or hunger. Yeah. A brotherhood of woman and man. So you just imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, yeah, baby, 'cause I'm not the only one. I hope someday you will join us, and the whole wide world will live as one. Oh, the whole wide world will live as one. One more time, yeah. The whole wide world will live as one.
Good morning, Westminster. Those of you who are here, those of you who are on Zoom or Facebook or wherever else you might be, whether you're in Washington, D.C. or in the DMV or in the United States or elsewhere, Croeso mawr I chi gyd. Welcome to you all. Thank you for joining us this morning. The service this morning has an international flavour. We've already started with a song from Liverpool, but has a message for all of us. And I'm going to share with you this morning how Wales and the chapels there share their voice internationally. In our commitment for peace, we are a very small country that likes to think very big. The translation of the Bible into hundreds of languages has been a crucial role in the ministry of missionary work all over the world. We have met, sadly he has passed away, but I don't know if many of you knew David Scott, who lived on 6th Street. He was responsible for translating the Bible with others in India into some of the lesser known languages there. And Welsh people have been in the mission fields in various places also translating the Bible. It is an affirmation of faith, but it is also an affirmation of the national and personal identity. I'm giving you this background so that so that we recognize that diversity happens in a lot of different ways. The Welsh language has actually survived against a lot of odds, including the fact that a government report in 1847 was published, which made a scathing attack on the standard of education in Wales, and that suggested that the standard of education in Wales would be much better if it was all carried out in English and not in Welsh. You may not be surprised to know that not one of the people who did the study nor made the recommendation, not one of them spoke Welsh. It became known in Wales as the treason of the Blue Books because the cover of the report was blue. My grandmother, 9 as we called her, it sounds like the number 9, and it's what my grandchildren call me. 9 attended a small school in the slate mining area in North Wales, in an area called Llanberis, in a town, Llanberis. Everyone in the area spoke Welsh except for who? The mine owners. It's the same story we hear over and over. And if a teacher heard a child, and my grandmother was one of them, speaking Welsh in school, they would place around that child's neck what was called the Welsh knot. It was a piece of wood, had a piece of string or rope around it, had WN on it. Outside the school, the teacher spoke Welsh, but inside, they had to speak in English. So if my grandmother had started the day with a Welsh knot around her neck, if she heard another child speaking Welsh, she had to take it off and put it on around the neck of the next child. And whoever was wearing the Welsh knot at the end of the day got corporal punishment. About 40 years ago, I met Amiri Shekimwere from Tanzania, and we were talking about what his mother tongue was. And so I told him this story, and he looked at me in amazement, and he said, "They did exactly the same to me when I was in school trying to learn my mother tongue." Of course, it wasn't called the Welsh knot, but it was a similar form of punishment. So language plays a really important role in identity and in power, and in taking identity and power from other people. The Welsh language, however, good news, in 1993 became a legal language. And since 1997, it became a compulsory language in school. So it won't surprise you to know that many people actually said that the idea for colonization came from the way Wales was treated. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I'm sure all of you know the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd. You may know it in English or another language. And after the next piece you're going to hear, Phong will come and read it to us in Vietnamese and only in Vietnamese. A few years ago, I stopped outside the capital to join a group of young people who were demanding greater gun control. And as I was walking away, words from the 23rd Psalm came to me. It said, and it came in Welsh. In English, it says, "He will lead me paths of righteousness." It came to me in Welsh. E fe am harwain ar hyd llwybrau cyfiawnder. He leads me along the paths of justice. Having access to two languages can often give you very significant, different understandings.
Đức Giê-hô-va là đấng trăn giữ tôi sẽ chẳng thiếu thốn gì. Ngài khiến tôi an nghỉ nơi đồng cỏ xanh tươi, dẫn tôi đến mé nước bình tĩnh. Ngài bổ lại linh hồn tôi, dẫn tôi vào các lối công bình. Vì cớ danh Ngài, dẫu khi tôi đi trong trũng bóng chết, tôi sẽ chẳng sợ tai họa nào, vì Chúa ở cùng tôi. Cây trượng và cây gậy của Chúa an ủi tôi. Chúa dọn bàn cho tôi trước mặt kẻ thù nghịch tôi. Chúa sức dầu cho đầu tôi, chén tôi đầy tràn. Quả thật, trọn đời tôi phước hạnh và sự thương xót sẽ theo tôi. Tôi sẽ ở trong nhà Đức Giê-hô-va cho đến lâu dài.
I often think that the Beatitudes are there to encourage us. It's an inspiration to encourage us that despite all, despite all the odds against us, humans, reminds us of what we should be seeking and how we should be trying to live. It is the struggle, it's the trying to get there, trying to ensure that we live a life of love, of justice, and of peace. That's what we're called to do. And because my focus is on Wales today, I just want to say a little bit about the role of the churches in Wales. I don't know if I've mentioned the churches we talked about as the Episcopal churches. The nonconformists were the chapels. So just if I use the word chapel, the meaning maybe is slightly different to what we use here. The chapels and the churches have played a big part in the life of Wales. It's the nurturing of the Gospels and sharing that, but it's also life revolved around the chapels. That's where you went. Sunday to worship, Monday to the Band of Hope, Tuesday to the chapel tea, Wednesday to the youth club. Oh, and I forgot, on Tuesday night there was a prayer meeting, and on Thursday night there was a what we called a sayat, where people would gather and share their stories. And sometimes on Friday there'd be a coffee morning. But the church was open and things were happening. And it became a given. Where did the church and our lives separate? It just wasn't clear to me at all. As I've mentioned, Sunday schools were there primarily to teach reading. And we also learned other things. And one of the things we learned is how to stand up and speak publicly. Every month, there was a service led by children. And by leading, I mean, we announced the hymns, or we did the Bible readings, or we read a prayer that somebody else had written for us. We didn't write the prayer. But we were taught how to stand and share the experience. Internationally, I think that Welsh chapels are very much associated with music. If you look in the Presbyterian hymn book, there are several tunes that are from Wales, and there are several hymns, the words, that also are translations of the Welsh hymns. And I think that's been one of the big gifts that Wales has given to the churches. And as I kind of implied earlier, I asked Nick to be what the term is, the codwr canu, the song lifter, literally translated. Many of the chapels would have a person, even if there was an organist, who was the song lifter. And they made sure that the congregation sang. They'd say, "Can we start again? I couldn't hear you. Come on." And the singing was always in harmony. And we still sing anywhere and everywhere. And often what we sing are hymns. If you have watched any rugby game with Wales playing, if you've watched any of the World Cup games where Wales got to, I have to mention that, it was such a big deal. The crowd sings either political songs or more likely religious songs. And culture is really important. Poetry, reciting poetry, singing, writing novels. We have, can you believe this, an 8-day festival, 8 days festival every summer, which is totally music, dance, plays, recitations, poetry, writing, and so on. And everything happens in Welsh. People are allowed to speak English there, obviously. But what happens in public on the stage is in Welsh, and we have translation services. But one of the songs, the church is also known for being present, and the one example I want to mention, where the line is, was Aberfan. If I say the word Aberfan, it might resound with you somewhere. It was in Aberfan that the coal tip slipped off the mountain onto a school in the 1960s. because the slag from the tips had been stacked unsafely over a water source. Over 120 children in that school died, and several of the teachers. And the church's response was to send a caravan and 2 people there to be there, not just that week, but for months and years afterwards, to be present, and they would bring other people to be there through the grief. It wasn't particularly a religious response, but it was very religious. We are going to listen to one of the, unfortunately the recording is a little, well, it's about 6 years ago. But men's choirs have been really important in Wales. And the men's choirs, you may have heard of, were mainly in the coal mines. Various coal mines had their own male voice choir. There is no coal any longer. The mines have been closed. But the music continues. And you're going to hear a choir called, very clever name, Only Boys Allowed, A-L-O-U-D. And they sing Calon Lan. Calon Lan is known as being our second anthem, and Calon Lan means a pure heart. All we need is a pure heart, an honest heart. I don't ask for a life of luxury, for the world's gold and its jewels. I ask for a life, for a clean heart, a pure heart. A pure heart full of goodness is more beautiful than the red rose. Only a pure heart can sing all day and all night.
Of every nation, of every race and land, redeem the whole creation with your almighty hand. Where hate and fear divide us,
profound respect, we, the undersigned, in virtue of the position held by us in the religious life of Wales, would approach you on a matter which is causing us deep concern. We feel that the years of the decision which depends on the fate of everything which you have striven and the fathers who begat us. We rejoice in the noble efforts for world reconciliation which have been put forth by the Churches of Christ in America, and we recall with pride the memorial which you conveyed to the Paris Peace Council, urging the immediate formation of a League of Nations. Nor can we ever forget the part that the Washington Conference on the Limitation of Armament. And it goes on. We simply speak as the women of Wales, the daughters of a nation whose glory it has been to cherish no hatred towards any land or people, and whose desire is for the coming on earth of the reign of fellowship and goodwill. We long for the day when the affairs of nations shall be subject no longer to the verdict of the sword, and we feel that the dawn of peace, which shall endure, would be hastened were it possible for America to take a place in the Council of the League of Nations. It also goes on to mention that it would be good if the United States joined the Permanent Court of International Justice and put an end to the trafficking of women and children and drugs. That was a message sent, written in 1922 by the women of Wales. It was delivered in 1923. The population of Wales totally was 2.5 million. That document was signed by close to 400,000 women in Wales. Imagine the commitment and the time that it took. They tried to knock on every door in the country. And how did they do it? Partly because there were so many League of Nations groups in Wales. Wales had suffered greatly during the First World War. 40,000, over 40,000 young men had died. Everybody knew somebody who suffered because of it. How did we find out about this? None of us were taught this in our history lessons. None of us knew about this amazing appeal until a woman was in a museum and happened to see a leather-bound cover, sort of insignificantly in the corner, which said on it, this appeal was sent by this number of women. She said, why don't I know about this? That was about 8 years ago. In 2019, I received a call from my sister, Nia, who's a community organizer, was involved with a small peace group that was working on various issues in Wales. And she said, Anne, will you go to the National History Museum and verify that collection such and such is actually this position? I thought, oh, yeah, of course I will, because you always say yes to your big sister, right? We managed to get to meet someone in the National History Museum, and we had one of the most amazing moments of my life. We saw some of the documents. They were there, signatures and addresses of over, as I say, close to 400,000 people. And so the conversation began 6 weeks or so ago. Well, I should say in between time, we established a group here called Our Grandmother's Peace in the US. There was a Grandmother's Peace group in Wales. And they had got together a partnership which involved the National Library of Wales, the churches of Wales, the museums of Wales, you name it, the youth movements, women's movement. We were invited to the Smithsonian for the official send-off of the documents and the chest in which it came, which went back to Wales. And it arrived in the National Library in Wales and has caused a big stir. People are really, really excited. And the question is being asked over and over again. Close on 400,000 women signed this. They brought it here. They met Carrie Chapman Catt. They met Eleanor Roosevelt. They met all the big names of the women who were there at the time. And if you search, you will find documentation in newspapers years afterwards how this action actually influenced the work that was going on. It did not bring about world peace. So one could look at it as being something that failed. But it didn't, because it involved a lot of people in action. It brought people in Wales together. It brought people in the US together. And now in Wales, the message is, so what do we do today if 400,000 of us women get together and decide to take on world peace? And people are beginning to think that seriously. And we here are working with them on this project. As you see, both this and the goodwill message start from the commitment that people had to their faith. And it's true here in the US also, that so much of what happens with justice starts with people of faith. So I wanted to share that particular story with you. It moves me. We found out that a great aunt of mine was one of the people who collected signatures. It's a very personal story, but it is a very big story. And because Wales is small, and because it doesn't fully have its own government, it has a government for internal matters, and because not only 500,000 of us so speak well, it would be very easy to sit down and say, we can't do anything. But none of us have that choice. And so we are reminded of that. And I feel that I'm reminded of that by the community here. And I am grateful for all that you do to bear witness. Thank you. It kind of seems odd to go straight to asking for the offering, but it seems very appropriate because this work doesn't happen without money and people giving their time for free as well. So your offerings empower this ministry within our congregation and to respond to the needs of our community, whether they are part of this congregation or not. I invite you to give generously as we worship God through sharing our gifts, tithes, and offerings. You can make your contributions by putting some money to the young people who are coming around collecting, or you can make a contribution by texting to the message to Westminster, DC, to the number 73256, or going to the Westminster page, and I'm not going to read the link, but you have it there in the order of service. Thank you very much.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, yes. And I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. Fish up in the sea, you know how I feel. Rivers running free, you know how I feel. Blossoms up on the tree, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, and I'm feeling good. Dragonflies out in the sun, you know how I mean. Butterflies all having fun, you know what I mean. Sleep in peace when the day is done, that's what I mean. This old world, it's a new world, and a bold world for you and me. Oh, you and me, yes. Stars, when you shine, you know what I feel. Scent of a pine, you know how I feel. Oh, freedom is mine, you know what I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, and I'm feeling good. Oh, I'm feeling good. 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 I'm feeling good.
So Westminster, take this spirit and this community of love and hope and sharing and inclusion into all the world, into those places where you go. Go with the love of the one who has given us this gift, who has created us as we are, the one who has redeemed us and pulled us back from whatever dark and dangerous places we've fallen into, and the spirit that dwells within us and guides us and encourages us each and every day. Amen?
Amen.
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 God bless you all.
Amen.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be with God as our Father. Brothers all are we. Let me walk with my brother in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be our solemn vow, to take each moment and